Welcome to this week's episode of Hot Boxing Talk, South Africa's very own online boxing talk show. So this week we are only having our weekly chat with Hayden and Cyril and Hayden. And first and foremost, let's talk about Sergey Kovalev has signed to fight Isaac Chilemba, a massive event for South African and African boxing, bearing in mind that Isaac is South African based. What does this mean for African boxing?
It means a lot for African boxing. As we know, Sergey Kovalev is the pound-for-pound king in his division, and Isaac Chilemba stepping up to fight him is a massive thing for African boxing.
Should Isaac Chilemba win this contest? Biggest upset in African boxing history, would you say?
I think it would be one of the biggest upsets ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
So that's my next question. How does this fight go?
I think Isaac will give a good account of himself, but I see him losing and getting stopped in the late rounds.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to put on a good fight, and I think he's not going to win this fight, but I think he's going to give a good account of himself. How do you see this fight going?
Look, let's be realistic. It's a warm-up fight for the Andre Ward fight.
Yeah.
It's a keep busy fight. Actually, that's a better term. It's a keep busy fight. Stylistically, he could be boxing more like Andre Ward, so a clever matchup for him.
Stranger things have happened in boxing. Let me put you on the spot. Can Isaac Chilemba win?
It's not impossible. It's not impossible. He does have good boxing skills. He's a spoiler, which could make things a bit difficult for Kovalev, but no, I don't see him winning.
There are no guarantees in boxing, we agree. Do you think he has a chance to win this fight?
He has a chance. Everyone has a chance. But I don't think he does win the fight.
You just don't think that chance is big enough for him to win?
I don't think so.
Keeping it on the African front, Ilunga Makabu has signed and it's been announced that he's going to be fighting Tony Bellew for the vacant WBC Cruiserweight Championship in Bellew's backyard. What does this mean for Bellew fighting in his home front? Because you reckon Ilunga Makabu is going to win this fight, no question, yes. But hometown advantage, what do you think it means for Bellew?
Well, hometown advantage, it's something you can't rule out. I mean, the crowd, obviously, that's going to be huge. But I don't think the crowd's going to fight for him. You know, they're not going to take any punches for him. I see Makabu still stopping him.
So the yardstick is that Bellew lost to Stevenson, who's a southpaw. Makabu's a southpaw. He lost horribly against Stevenson, did Bellew. How does that performance, can you kind of draw the comparison how you do in this fight against Makabu? Bearing in mind two different weight categories.
Correct, yeah, and I think he's done a slight bit better at the cruiserweight division, but it's, as you said earlier, it's at Goodison Park, it's his home ground. If he manages to get it to 12 rounds, you can't exactly trust the judges, but we do expect that Ilunga Makabu stops him.
So here's the thing, Makabu's been inactive for nearly a year, Bellew hasn't. What does that tell you about this fight?
I think it just tells me that Makabu is more hungry.
I'm just trying to think what else has happened. Oh yeah. Anthony Joshua has announced and signed to fight a guy who was in the Olympic USA team 2012, who is 17-0, 50 knockouts, but I've seen some of his footage. I mean, I can't even pronounce this guy's name. How do you think that fight goes? And is this guy, I mean, it goes back to championships and title fights and so forth. Is he worthy of fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship? The World Heavyweight Championship.
I like this fight between Anthony Joshua and Dominic Breazeale. Both guys are undefeated. Both guys were in the Olympics. It was debatable whether Joshua actually won the Olympics, which is what this guy brought up in the press conference.
Yes, would have, should have, could have. The bottom result, the end result is he had the gold medal around his waist.
Correct.
And around his neck.
But this guy brought it up in the press conference, and you could see it got under Joshua's skin a little bit.
Do you think that's going to play to his advantage, or do you think Anthony Joshua's just going to wipe the floor with this guy?
I think Anthony Joshua probably stops him 2-3 rounds.
Gideon Buthelezi retained his championship, first defense of his second reign. What do you think's next for him?
It's hard to tell what's next for him. It depends on what his promoter wants. He's the IBO champion. Sky's the limit. I mean, we could look at some major organizations' titles as well for him. So yeah, I'd like to see that.
There's a fight out there that a lot of social media formats have brought to the attention of South African boxing public. That's Olani Teti fighting Gideon Buthelezi. How do you think that fight goes if it happens? And I don't think it will. I think there are different paths. But if that fight had to happen, who do you think?
I think Tete is just too much at the moment for anybody in South Africa. Probably too much for most fighters around the world. So yeah, I think Tete would win that one. I don't think it happens though, as you say.
Yeah, if that fight happens, how do you think it goes?
Olani Tete is one of my favorite boxers.
Yeah. Mine too, actually.
He's been someone's called him the Golovkin of the bantamweight division. I've read that somewhere.
Okay, it's debatable. That's debatable. Yeah.
But the thing is, I see Tete winning so calm, so composed. He just looks like he's the real deal.
Malcolm Clausen had a terrific win Friday night, knocking a guy out southboard in 26 seconds, winning the WBA Intercontinental Junior Lightweight Championship. So here's the thing, Clausen's been campaigning as feather junior light, but now he's gone back to his weight that he feels comfortable with. Where does the future lie for him in terms of his next fight? Because he's not getting any younger, he's still got a lot of fight left in him. What do you think should be next for Clausen?
I think Clausen should be pushing to fight at the highest level. I think he's still good enough to compete at that level. Whether he does or not, I don't know. Obviously, that's up to his handlers. But I hope he fights at the highest level.
There was a lot of talk about Clausen fighting Mzonke Fana. Now there's been discrepancies on what weight they're going to fight in and stuff. Now that's a legit great rematch for South African boxing. If that comes through, who do you favour and why?
Mzonke Fana has been very strong lately. He's getting better and better. But you got to give it to Malcolm on that.
Yeah, just maybe a little fresher.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly.
My opinion is if Fana gets out of the first 4 or 5 rounds of Clausen, it's going to be very interesting. Pretty much might be even carbon copy of the first fight. What do you think?
I just think, as Hayden said, as you pointed out, I think Clausen is fresher. Clausen is just, I think for somehow he just hasn't lost his step. He's just that good.
Well, that's the international and local scene about African and South African boxing. The two gentlemen have spoken, and that is the end of this episode. Catch us again next week. From myself, Colin Omaganjani, Cyril, and Hayden, we will see you again next week.